Alright, well, I kind of took a couple of weeks and I just put the camera down and I picked up a wrench and I got this thing done. Well, they're never really done, but I got it running right. So we'll go over kind of what I did here. As you can see, I got a shiny new mini alternator in there, 35 ampere. I had to get a belt so it would mount in the right spot. I didn't have one on my wall of belts that was the right size, unfortunately, but I think it was only like $2. So I got that, got it all wired up to the switch, and it works good. Went ahead and I drained the coolant out of the radiator, and I've got water in it now, so I'll run that for a while and kind of flush it out. And before winter hits, we'll throw some actual antifreeze in it. Did the ignition system, you saw most of that. There's a new distributor there. We'll talk about that in a minute. I got my new coolant temp gauge hooked up. That was kind of a pain. She was a little rusty. I got a new, well, not a new, but a different fuel bowl, a clear one made of glass, so you can actually see what's going on in there. I got the diff fluid changed, the rear end fluid. Put new gear oil in that. I flushed it with diesel and put new stuff in. Swapped out the throttle from the other tractor because this one was a sawtooth one and it was wore out, so you had to hold it up if you wanted any RPM, and that was a real pain. So swap that over. If you come to the front, I went through in here, put a new ammeter in that goes to 60 amps, so it should be good for that alternator. Disconnected everything with that switch because the wiring was just scary. I even got a light on my ammeter so I can see when the tractor's on. Got that done, everything wired up in there. And then we'll come around to the other side. What else did I do? Got a new battery cable end on the negative side there. I lost my bolt, but that's alright. And managed to break that rod free and adjust the clutch. Hopefully it's pretty close. I haven't really driven it, but it doesn't stick anymore. That was a real pain in the butt. Got that all taken care of. Cleaned out my oil bath air filter, put some fresh oil in there. Didn't look like anybody had ever done that. There was just a little bit of goo in the bottom of this, no oil at all, so it wasn't doing much. Went through the carburetor more than once, but I got a new float in it and whatever pieces I could from the kit, because this thing's pretty rusty nasty on the inside. Got that done. Got a new glass pack muffler because it was, I don't know, 10 or 15 bucks cheaper than the actual muffler. So I just put her on there. Plus it's red, matches the tractor. And I got a rain cap coming that's the right size because I accidentally bought a 2-incher. I need 2.5, but that should be on its way. And what else did I do? I'm sure I did more. Got everything greased. Well, that's all ready to go. So let's talk about that new distributor. I got all this new stuff in it and it was running, but it just wasn't running right. At first the idle wouldn't hold, so I fixed that and it still would fluctuate. You tap on the governor here and the idle would change, or the speed would change. So I was like, what the heck? I took this off, I looked in there, everything looked fine. Ended up taking off the carburetor again, going through that, and everything looked good in there. And it turns out there was a bunch of rust and crud and junk inside this tube here, and it was actually holding the shaft up. So I tipped that down, banged on it, and cleaned all that crap out and sprayed it, and then the idle would, or the speed would hold wherever I put it. So I got that fixed, but it still wasn't running right. So I went through the carburetor again just to make sure I didn't miss anything and put it back on. It still wasn't running right. So I went over, I still had the old distributor on it at that point, and I decided I'll change the points and condenser. Maybe there's something wrong with that because I didn't change them originally. And everything was fine in there. Changed it, still didn't run right. Put the old coil back on just to see, still didn't run right. So eventually I got fed up with it and I pulled the distributor out and I pulled it all the way apart, pretty much all the way apart. And I got down there, and I don't know how well you're going to see that, but that's all boogered up in there. I don't know what they did to that, but that whole plate is just bent and twisted and mangled, and it was actually rubbing against the inside of the housing. So I don't know what they did to that, but ended up buying a new distributor, putting that in, and it finally ran right. So I am happy finally. It was weird. You'd be idling and it would seem fine, and you'd rev it up and it would seem fine for a little while, and then it would start running like crap. And I'm guessing what was happening was these advanced weights in here were kind of sticking, so they'd stick advanced or retarded or whatever, and it would just run like garbage. So once I pulled that off the other tractor and put it on here, it ran like a dream. So once I figured that was the problem, bought a new distributor, put it in, and we're good to go. So I think since we're all set up, I'm going to go ahead and take that glass pack off and the air filter lid and throw the hood back on and fire it up and let you listen to her. Maybe take her out for a spin after I clean up all this mess. Alright, let's fire this thing up. Well, alright, we went ahead and fired this thing up and took it in the field over there. And there's a guy shooting behind me, but whatever. We took it out in the field and drug the field with it, and it ran a little bit hot, as you can see by the discoloration on the exhaust there. But I went ahead and advanced the timing a little bit, and that seemed to cure it. We took it back out with the cultipacker and ran that through it, and did good. Ran nice and cool, pulled good, and yeah, I think she's going to be quite the machine. As you can see, we got the little flapper on top now finally. Got the right size for that. The clutch seems to be good. We fixed that. Doesn't stick anymore. At least I don't think it does. Haven't driven it in a while, but let's go ahead and fire it up and see if it'll run. I think everything's hooked up. Yeah, battery's hooked up. Now all I got to do is figure out how to get the snowplow on it, and we should be good to go. Let's see if she'll run. Yeah, I like this one better than the sawtooth, but yeah, I think we got her taken care of.